व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers of Queen Kunti and Parikshit, saved, text number 23. Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
Devaki
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
Yata Rishikesha Khalena Devaki
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Tayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
Yata Rishikesha Kalena Devaki
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana.
Kalena Devaki
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
Vimochitam sa Sahatmaja Vibho
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
ऋषिकेश खलेन देवकी
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
कंसेन रुद्धाति चिरं सुचार्पिता
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
विमोचिताहं च सहात्मजा विभो
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
त्वयेव नाथेन मुहुर्विपद्गणात्
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
ऋषिकेश देवकी
Yatha Hrishikesha Khalena Devaki
कंसेन रुद्धाति चरं सुचार्पिता
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita
विमोचिताहं च सहात्मजा विभो
Vimochitaham cha Sahatmaja Vibho
त्वयैव नाथेन मुहुर्विपद्गणात्
Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Vipadgana
यदा ऋषिकेशखलेन देवकी
यथा ऋषिकेशखलेन देवकी
कंसेन रुद्धातिचिरं सुचार्पिता
कंसेन रुद्धाति चिरं सुचार्पिता
विमोचिताहं च सहात्मजा विभो
विमोचिताहं च सहात्मजा विभो
त्वयैव नादेन मुहुर्विपत्कनात्
त्वयैव नाथेन मुहुर्विपद्गणा यथा as it were Rishikesha the master of the senses Khalena by the envious Devaki the mother of Shri Krishna Kamsena by King Kamsa Ruddha imprisoned Atichiram for a long time Sucha Arpita distressed Vimochita released Aham cha also myself Saha Atmaja along with my children Vibho O great one Tvaya eva by your lordship Nathena as the protector Muhuhu constantly Vipat Gana from a series of dangers Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Translation O Rishikesha, Master of the Senses and Lord of Lords, you have released your mother Devaki who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Translation with repetition. O Rishikesha, Master of the Senses, and Lord of Lords, you have released your mother, Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Devaki, the mother of Krishna and sister of King Kamsa, was put into prison along with her husband Vasudev because the envious king was afraid of being killed by Devaki's eighth son, Krishna. He killed all the sons of Devaki who were born before Krishna, but Krishna escaped the danger of child slaughter because he was transferred to the house of Nanda Maharaj, Lord Krishna's foster father. Kunti Devi, along with her children, was also saved from a series of dangers. But Kunti Devi was shown far more favor because Lord Krishna did not save the other children of Devaki, whereas he saved the children of Kunti Devi. This was done because Devaki's husband Vasudev was living, whereas Kunti Devi was a widow and there was none to help her except Krishna. The conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in greater dangers. Sometimes he puts his pure devotees in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more success is there for the devotee. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing this wonderful series of Kunti Maharani's prayer, and we have seen so far how Kunti Maharani or Kunti Devi has prayed to Krishna, addressing him as the Supreme Absolute Truth, and how it is difficult for ordinary conditioned living entities to see Krishna. Alakshyam sarvabhutanam antar bahiravastitam maya javanika channam agyadhokshajam abhyayam. It's very difficult. So having spoken about Krishna's greatness and about her own humble position, katham pashyemahi striya, how ordinary women like us can understand you, and having glorified Krishna about his beauty, his personal form. Nama pankajanavhaya, nama pankajamaline, nama pankajanetraya, namaste pankajangre. In the previous verse. Now Kunti Maharani is telling how merciful Krishna is. This aspect of understanding about Krishna's position in our life is something which we have to learn from the pure devotees like Kunti Devi. We will see this, and very beautifully Prabhupada explains some very important points in the purport. Let's start with the verse, understanding the verse. So the verse goes like this: Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita Vimochitaham Cha Sahatmaja Bibho Tvayeva Nathena Muhur Bipadganat. Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki. So if you pay attention, there is the word Khalena and Kamsena. So the word Khala is used here for Kamsa. Khala is translated by Prabhupada as the jealous or the envious person. The envious Devaki, by the envious. Devaki is Devaki, okay. By the envious person. So Khalena is third like by Khala, by Kamsa. Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita. So the cruel, envious, jealous person by name Kamsa kept Devaki imprisoned, Ruddha, Atichiram, for a very long time. And Rishikesha, the master of the senses, released Devaki, Vimochitaham. He released Devaki from this imprisonment. Sucharpita is distressed, Ruddha, imprisoned, Atichiram, for a very long time, and Vimochita, that was released by Krishna. Similarly, Aham cha sahatmaja bibho tvayeva nathena muhur vipadganat. Similarly, O Lord, you have also protected us from so many muhur vipadganat. So many vipadganat have come to us. Tvayeva nathena, by same nathena, by your grace, by your mercy, by your protection, we were also saved from various dangers. O Rishikesha, master of the senses, which is Yatha Rishikesha, Lord of the Lords. There are many words which he uses which are very important to pay attention. One is Bibho, one is Nathena. So it's all referring to the Lord of the Lords. Sahatmaja Bibho Tvayeva Nathena. So Lord of the Lords, you have released your mother Devaki, Bimochita, your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned, Ruddhati Chiram, and distressed, Sucharpita. Distressed by whom? By the envious king Kamsa, Khalena Kamsena, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Saha Atmaja Bibho, Saha Atmaja Vipadganat. Atma is myself, Atmaja Saha is all my children also. You protected us from a series of constant dangers. Muhur is constant, it is again and again coming, and dangers, Vipadganat, is what the translation is. Very interesting verse, and very beautiful poetic way of saying some of the things which Kunti Maharani prays. So in the previous verse we had seen how Kunti Maharani praised the beauty of Krishna by comparing different parts of the body of Krishna to lotus. My respectful obeisances, Namah, that Nama is there in all four lines. Namah Pankajanavhaya, Namah Pankajamaline, Namah Pankajanetraya, Namaste Pankajangre. And in every line there is one word, Pankaja, that is the lotus. So Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. And today's verse, she's praying, O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious king Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. So if you divide this into three parts, which we usually are doing, O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of lords. The word uses Yatha Rishikesha. Bibho and Nathena. O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of the lords. So what Krishna has done? Krishna has released his own mother from imprisonment by the envious king Kamsa. You have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious king Kamsa. And then the third thing is, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. There's some noise which is coming, isn't it? From the other mic? From mine? And me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Still coming? Somewhere else. Sahatmaja Bibho Nathena Muhur Vipadganat. And that, what is the title for today's class? Master of the Senses. That is what Prabhupada has titled this in this wonderful book, The Teachings of Queen Kunti. Rishikesha. The word Rishikesha. Anybody knows what is the meaning of the word Rishikesha? Yeah, but how? What way? Rishika means the senses, and Isha means the controller or the master. So Rishikesha is the controller or the master of the senses. And Prabhupada very beautifully explains. Actually, the book, The Teachings of Queen Kunti, is a very powerful one, very, very wonderfully written. It's actually a series of lectures which Prabhupada has given. So Prabhupada is explaining how none of the body parts, our senses, belong to us. It is given to us by Krishna. So for example, we desired that, when I'm not starting with this, but Prabhupada says that in the lecture, that somebody desired that I should eat or I should taste stool. So okay, so you want to desire experiencing, how the stool tastes. Okay, take the body of a hog, have the tongue which has got a desire to eat that stool, and he gets that body. Somebody desires that I should become a demigod and I have a higher sense of enjoyment. So the Lord fulfills. Rishikesha. He is giving these senses to us. He has given this body, and this body remains. This is a means by which the soul experiences the material world in various ways. That's why there are 84 lakh species of life, and we get different bodies based on the desire that we have, that we want to enjoy. The best example which Prabhupada gives is, now you ask a small child also, show me your hand, she will say, this is my hand, or this is my leg, my eyes. But we may claim proprietorship of our hands, legs and everything, but who does it belong to really? Prabhupada says that it belongs to Krishna. Had it been really belonging to us, if a person becomes paralyzed, his own hand he is not able to lift. So if that is the case, a sane man should think that if it belongs to Krishna, let me engage this in Krishna's service. That is the real meaning of Rishikesha. But unfortunately, because of ignorance which covers our true knowledge, we feel that I am this body and every single bodily part belongs to me and they are meant to serve me or my mind and the senses. And we have been doing this from many, many lifetimes, trying to serve our mind and senses. We have to serve, that is our constitutional position, and we are serving our mind and senses. But unfortunately, this master, mind and senses, are some who never get satisfied, no matter how much we are trying to serve them. Even the demanding boss, like Bhagavatam Prabhu was telling that, his boss is shifted now from India to here, and he doesn't get even time now. Earlier he was getting some free time in the evenings, but now that also is taken away because he's here and he works till late in the morning, some 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and he keeps asking for reports. Even the demanding boss sometimes gets compassionate and he says, enough, I have asked you so many things, now you can take rest or break. But the mind and senses are such, no matter how many times, how sincerely, how long we have been serving them, they are never satisfied. They don't give us a break. Even the corporate world, there is break for Saturday and Sunday. 5 days you work, Saturday, Sunday is holiday for you. That is not there. And we've been constantly serving. And the result of that, we are not satisfied. We are also getting implicated by the actions that we are doing. That is why Krishna or Prabhupada is telling, serve Hrishikesha, the controller or the master of the senses. When we engage our senses in the service of Krishna, they become purified. Verse? What is the first line? Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyatya. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam. So sometimes, if we have taken birth in America, we think I have got an American body, American senses. It needs to be satisfied in a particular way. Somebody was telling, my children have become Americanized. They don't want Indian food. They're eating only American this thing. Because now they're feeling, I'm in America, I will eat cheese, I will eat burger, whatever it is. Somebody who's in India, he thinks that I will eat Indian food, like curd rice or whatever it is. So we are thinking that, because I'm Indian, my senses are Indian, hence it has to be satisfied in the Indian way. But it is not true. Sarvopadhi, this upadhis that we have given to ourselves, I'm an Indian body, I'm an American body person, these are all designations. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. When somebody becomes free from these designations and the impurities, tat paratvena nirmalam, rishikena rishikesha sevan. This is possible by rishikena, by the senses engaged in the service of Krishna. Bhakti ruchyate. That is called the devotional service. But from the life of Kunti Maharani, there is something else which has to be understood, which she is mentioning in this verse, which is worth paying attention, because that's where the whole beauty of this Bhagavatam lies, in those details, and that's how the Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada bring it out so nicely. Of course, there is one question which Prabhupada answers, and this is what Kunti Maharani is praying, that, O Lord, you are more merciful to me than to Devaki, your own mother. And why? Because, Devaki's sons, the 6 sons, were killed. You didn't protect them. But you always protected me and my sons. So one may question why. Why Krishna was doing this? Why he didn't save the sons of Devaki, his own mother, or why did he save the Pandavas? So Prabhupada is writing in the purport, this was done because Devaki's husband Vasudeva was living, whereas Kunti Devi was a widow, and there was none to help her except Krishna. This particular point is taken from the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when a woman becomes widow, usually it is the duty of somebody who's, imagine, for a woman when she is married and she is there in the husband's house, husband is like everything. And if the husband is not there, if she becomes widow at a very young age, then it is the responsibility of the elder family members to take care of her. But in case of Kunti Maharani, her elder, like Dhritarashtra and all, they were envious. They wanted to finish. They wanted to kill their children. They wanted to kill Kunti Devi. So where would she take shelter and help? That is why the word that she uses is Tvaiva Nathena. Nathena Muhur Vipadgana. That word Natha is, you are my husband, you are my protector. This was done because Devaki's husband Vasudeva was living, whereas Kunti Devi was a widow, and there was none to help her except Krishna. But the interesting conclusion which Prabhupada brings from this episode is, the conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in greater dangers. Sometimes he puts his pure devotees in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The whole point of reading Bhagavatam, going through the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, is not just an academic exercise that, okay, I finished first canto, 8th chapter, we have come so far. One day maybe we will be able to finish the 12 cantos. It's not an academic endeavor. It is meant to bring that internal transformation by which we can develop attachment to the Lord. Right now we have deep-rooted attachments to material things, very deep, strong, and that is very difficult to overcome. So sometimes when the dangers are put, that helplessness make a devotee more attached to the Lord. This is the conclusion. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more success is there for the devotee. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nivasayat. Somehow or other, we have to develop, to learn to attach our mind to Krishna, which is not easy. So one of the things that we have to learn from this episode of Kunti Maharani, which she's bringing to, she's starting to express in this verse onwards, this verse and the next verse and the third verse, is that we should never forget our identity and the sense of duty. What is our identity? Our identity is not that I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a whatever, friend, a relative, or mother, or wife, or something. My identity is I am Krishna's servant. I'm the servant. Jivera Swarupai Krishnara Nityadas. Mamaivamsa Jivaloki Jivabhuta Sanatana. Mana Shasthani Indriyani Prakriti Sthani Karsati. We are eternally part and parcel of the Lord. This identity gets lost. And not just the identity gets lost, also the sense of duty gets lost, that I am supposed to render devotional service to the Lord. From the life of Kunti Maharani, she is exhibiting, she is demonstrating how we should never forget our identity and sense of duty in the midst of calamity and prosperity. Remembering identity and sense of duty is easy if everything is fine. But if there is a calamity, if there is little danger, forget about calamities. Bipad Ganad is very, very significant problems or disasters or some kind of dangers. Even little thing goes and here and there. Oh, he didn't look at me properly. I came to the temple and he didn't even look at. And we don't want to engage in devotional service. Why? Because there is a huge false ego which prevents us to understand that I am Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nityadas. That becomes so disturbed that a person even leaves the organization and goes. The identity has to be remembered and the sense of duty. And I am meant to serve Krishna. The senses are meant. That is why he is called Hrishikesha. That is why Prabhupada has titled this, just the first word, Master of the Senses. Identity and the sense of duty in calamity and prosperity. Prosperity also when sometimes get somebody some money or this thing, some success, some material, these things, a person immediately forgets Krishna. Immediately forgets his identity. Immediately there is a false pride which takes over. So the life of Kunti Devi, Kunti Maharani, is an example, is an embodiment where she is constantly aware. She is praying to Krishna. She knows that Krishna is my nephew. She is showing her maternal affection, but she is also not forgetting her own identity. That is why Natha, Vibho, Rishikesha, these are the words which she is using. And constantly, this is not some ordinary person, this is the supreme absolute truth, which cannot be understood by ordinary people. But he has given enough mercy on me, and that's how she is counting all these things. So very important thing to remember this. Not to forget our identity and sense of duty amidst calamity and prosperity. There is a very beautiful verse which comes in the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is a gem. I mean, it's a storehouse of gems. So in the 5th chapter, 15th verse, Krishna says something very powerful. He says, Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena abritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena abritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. The word muhyanti means bewildered. We know this. 7th chapter, what is that verse? Sammoham Sarvabhuta. No, not 7:13. Just one verse before that. Daivi Esha Gunami. Trivir Gunamair Bhaver. Evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam navi jananti mamebhya paramabhyayam. So this muhyanti and mohitam are similar. Trivhir gunamair bhavir evi sarvam idam jagat mohitam. Mohitam is bewildered. Tena muhyanti jantavaha. People in this material world, this is Krishna telling, Nadate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu. I am not responsible for the papam, the papa, that the sinful activities that people are doing. Nachaiva sukrutam vibhu, nor the pious credits that they are getting. I am not responsible for that. So who is responsible? Ajnanena abritam jnanam. Because of the ignorance which is covering their true knowledge, they don't know their identity, they don't know their sense of duty, they are engaging in that kind of an activity. Tena muhyanti jantava. I just facilitate. Tena muhyanti jantava. The root cause of our suffering, the root cause of our elongation of material existence is this ignorance. And because of that ignorance, we don't know what is, so we are strongly, deeply attached to this material things, and that material attachment prevents us. It covers our true identity, it covers our true knowledge, it elongates us, and it creates more and more desires to enjoy in this material world. Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhu ajnanena amritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantava. So interestingly, when we are talking about this particular episode of Kunti Maharani, and we are talking about remembering the identity and the sense of duty, what helps to remember this? What helps to have this sanity of mind or the clarity of thoughts is when we are in association of devotees. And how that is brought out so nicely by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Prabhupada highlights that at various places, is first thing is this, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami at Ramkheli. So when Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, who were ministers in the kingdom of Nawab Hussain Shah, come to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they say, Mora karma mora hate galaye bandhiya, kubishaya vistha garte diyache phelaya. The two brothers, Sakar Malik and Davir Khas, very humbly submitted that due to their abominable activities, they were now bound by the neck and hands and had been thrown into a ditch filled with abominable stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. Ku Vishaya Vistha Garte Diyache Phelaya. Imagine there is a ditch, and the ditch is filled with stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. How they are comparing this? Actually, one of the, and Prabhupada talks about this in the purport, one of the primary prerequisite for us to advance in spiritual life is this acknowledgement of our position, present circumstances. If we don't even acknowledge that we are fallen, we are in a abominable condition, forget about making progress towards the spiritual life. So this is what Sakar Malik and Davir Khas, when they met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are saying that due to our abominable activities, now they are bound by the neck and hands and had been thrown into a ditch filled with abominable stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. And they say, why they develop this material sense gratification business? How does it arise in the heart? There are three things which leads to this material sense enjoyment, or these desires which burn in our heart. What are those three things? Mlecha jati, mlecha sevi, kari mlecha karma, go brahmana dhrohi sange, amara sangam. Actually, we belong to the caste of meat eaters because we are servant of meat eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of the meat eaters because we always associate with such people. We are inimical towards the cows and brahmanas. They have talked about three things in this, and those three things are a person becomes degraded because of the following three things. One is birth. They're saying we are born in the, actually we belong to the caste of meat eaters because of the birth. Somebody is born in the family where, it is a demoniac family. Because of the birth, you get degraded. Second thing is because of the occupation. They're saying we are serving the meat eaters. And the third thing is because of association. So the verse says, actually we belong to the caste of meat eaters because we are servants of meat eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of the meat eaters. And because we are always associated with such people, we are inimical towards the cows and the brahmanas. So in our life also, if we realize, these three things make us degraded or take the path of degradation: birth, occupation, and association. Out of these three, birth we don't have a control. Because of our past karma, we have taken birth in some things. Many times we don't have a control over the occupation. Sometimes you are forced to take some occupation which you don't want. Or maybe you have realized that this is not right for me, but you are continuing to do that. What we have a choice is our association. If we don't do this association of devotees, if we don't learn, because Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are not theoretical subject which has to be memorized and crammed up, and I have to produce these results in some exams and be done with that. These are examples given. This narration of Bhagavatam is meant to bring that transformation in our heart. It should manifest in our behavior. It is meant to bring that revolution. Tadvaga visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi. Viplavo, that revolution in the heart should come. I should understand this material world's position. I should understand the position of the Lord, and I should understand my position and make that course correction so that I develop an attachment for the Lord. This is very nicely explained. But how do I develop? What are the definitions of some good qualities? And what if I don't have those good qualities in me? What should I do? This example of this is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the beginning in Adi Leela, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about one devotee by name Pandit Haridas. That's your favorite, isn't it? That comes in the first, in the Adi Leela. Very beautiful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is talking about this devotee, how this qualities, because often we are confused with the yardstick of what is good quality. You want to get more confused, you should go to this Kumbh Mela, where you find all kinds of different sampradayas. Somebody is saying no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. Very next camp you will find somebody is putting some chillam and is doing is taking ganja and all. So how do we know what are the good qualities? This example of Haridas is given, who's the head priest, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this very interestingly. Sahasra sevaka seva kare anukshana sahasra vadane seva na yaya varnana. In the temple of Govindji, thousands of servitors always render service to the Lord in devotion. Even with thousands of mouths, one could not describe this service. And then he says, Sevara Adhyaksha Sri Pandit Haridas Tanara Yasa Guna Sarva Jagate Prakas. In that temple, the chief servitor was Sri Haridas Pandit. His qualities and fame are known all over the world. So what is his qualities and fame? The first thing is Sushila. Sushila means he was gentle. Shila is conduct. Su is good. Susila, his conduct, the behavior is very gentle. Susila. But Susila is possible only if you are Sahishnu, tolerant. Susila, Sahishnu, Santa, he was very peaceful. Vadanya, he was very magnanimous, he was very compassionate. Gambhira, he was grave. He was not some frivolous or he was not doing some these things. He's very grave. Susila, Sahishnu, Santa, Vadanya, Gambhira, Madhura Vachana, Madhura Cheshta, Mahadhira. Sweet in his words, very sober in his endeavors, and Mahadhira, he is extremely sober. These are the qualities of Haridas which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions. Then Sabara Sammana Karta, Karena Savara Hita, Kautilya Matsarya Himsa, Na Jane Tanara Chitta. He was respectful to everyone, worked for the benefit of all. Kautilya is diplomacy, Matsarya, envy, and Himsa, jealousy, were unknown to his heart. See, these are the symptoms of a good Vaishnava. Savara Sammana Karta, Karena Savara Hita, Kautilya Matsarya Himsa, Na Jane Tanara Chitta. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, of all the good qualities that he had, this is the most important. Vaishnavera Gunagrahi Na Dekhaye Dos, Kaya Mano Bhakya Kare Vaishnava Santosh. He always accepted the good qualities of Vaishnavas and never found fault in them. He engaged his heart and soul only to satisfy the Vaishnavas. Kaya Mano Bhakya Kare Vaishnava Santosh. Actually, this is a very important thing. If you read the episode of Prahlad Maharaj, you will see Prahlad Maharaj, he's explaining while talking about the Vaishnava's qualities, or even before that, when Yudhishthir Maharaj is questioned by Narad Muni is questioned by Yudhishthir Maharaj. That's how the 7th chapter, 7th canto Srimad Bhagavatam description of Prahlad Maharaj comes, as to why the Lord is partial to his devotees. It's as if the Lord is always taking the side of the devotees, and the demons are always being punished by the Lord. Narad Muni says it is not true. Actually, even if somebody is born in the family of demons, if he wants, he can be given the position of highest Vaishnava, like the example of Prahlad Maharaj, or like the example of Vritrasura. Aham tava hare padar dasanu dasa. He says he's aspiring to become a devotee of servant of the devotee. So it doesn't depend on the birth, it depends on the consciousness of the person. And further, Narad Muni says, when somebody displeases a Vaishnava, when somebody gets a curse from a Vaishnava, that is where the problem happens. That is where the inferno, or there is a burning desire to enjoy material world comes. That is what exactly happened with Jai Vijay when they were cursed by the 4 Kumaras. So when somebody displeases the Vaishnavas, or gets the curse of a Vaishnava. These are not ordinary things. And then what happens, the result of that is, you will develop a desire to enjoy this material world again. It will burn inside, as it happened in the case of Jaya Vijaya. So he engaged his heart and soul only to satisfy the Vaishnavas. And then comes this very important verse of Bhagavatam, which is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, which is very instructive. Actually, you see, for Prahlad Maharaj, Narsimadev personally appeared from the pillar and protected him from Hiranyakashipu. So then you would have thought his life is great, glorious. He has got the blessings of Narsimadev. Personally, the Lord is appearing. What else is needed? But we have to see what Prahlad Maharaj is praying. Evam janam nipatitam pravavahi kupe kamabhi kamam anuyah prapatam prasangat kritvatmasat surasina bhagavan granitaha soham katham nu visrije tava vritya sevam. Very interesting and very important to remember this verse. Evam janam nipatitam pravavahi kupe. Evam janam nipatitam pravavahi kupe. I am fallen in this material existence, ahi kupe, and in the blind well full of snakes. What kind of snakes? Kama abhikamam, desiring the sense objects. And anuyaha prapatam prasangat. I have fallen in this, falling down, because of bad association, because I am born in the demoniac family. Everything is bad about me. Kritva atmasat surasina bhagavan grahita. Kritva atmasat, actually Narad Muni somehow blessed. He gave me his mercy. That is how I got saved. Kritva atmasat surasina bhagavan grahita. Narad Muni accepted me. Soham katham nu visrije tava vritya sevam. How can I give up service to your servant? My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires, one after another, I was gradually falling into blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? So it's a very important principle that, if we want the transformation in the heart, there is one place where Prabhupada is talking a difference between cleansing of the heart and the purification of the heart. Is there any difference? What is the difference between two words which I am asking? Cleansing of the heart and purification. You can clean the wall, the floor, you can clean all of these things, but that is not the same as purification. Cleansing is, if there is some dust, dirt, you remove it, that's good, great, gone. But purification happens when the heart is not just cleansed, but it is used for the glorification of the Lord. The difference between a pure devotee and sadhakas like us who are trying to become a devotee is that, the pure devotee of the Lord is constantly engaged in glorification of the Lord. They are constantly carrying the Lord in their heart. There is nothing else that they see. But whereas all, the devotees like us, we don't have that purity of the heart. We don't have that cleansing. So that is why he's telling, but your servant Narad Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. That transformation in the heart is something which is needed, which is what is expected. And when that happens by the process of following the devotional service, Navavidha Bhakti, that is the real goal of all this, reading Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or this thing. It's not some mere academic exercise. There's a very nice story which I think Subhyakta Prabhu in one of his class he mentions about a disciple of Sankaracharya by name Padmapad. And this Padmapad, because he was a disciple of Sankaracharya, he had still the material contamination and he was not fully pure in his heart. He goes to the forest in search of Lord Narasimhadev. And he was trying to search Lord Narasimhadev. He was sitting and doing some austerity and meditation. He was not knowing how Narasimhadev will appear and he was trying his best. At that time there was a hunter who appeared there. And this hunter looked at this Padmapad and said, what are you doing in this dense forest all by yourself? What are you trying to do? He said, Arey my God, who's this hunter? What will I explain him the position of Narasimhadev? How will he understand who Narasimhadev is? So he said, you forget about it. I'm just looking for I'm looking for an animal. He said, "Oh, that's great. I am the hunter. Any animal you want, you tell me, I will bring it. Live, dead, whatever you want, I'll bring it." Then he said, "Arey, I'm further getting entangled. I didn't want him to disturb me. Now he's asking for what kind of an animal." He said, "You would have never seen that kind of an animal. It's not possible for you to capture." He said, "You tell me, no, what kind of an animal?" He said, "It's some half man, half lion, and it's very difficult to find him. Very rare. This thing. Forget about it." So he said, "Don't worry. I will get him by today evening. If I don't get him, I will commit suicide." So he goes and so he said, "What is the name of that animal?" He said, "It is Narasimha." So this hunter goes in the forest calling out, "Narasimha, Narasimha, Narasimha," the whole day, fully convinced that I should do something for this person. And he searches. By the evening, when he could not find Lord Narsimadev, he was about to commit suicide. So he had put a noose and he was trying to hang himself from the tree, and he was about to commit suicide. Narsimadev appeared. So, "You wanted me? I am here. I am Narsimha." "So, you fool, where you were so long? I have been trying." That person, he is trying sincerely to search for you. Then he took out that rope, the noose, and put it in Narsimadev's body, and pulled him, and brought him in front of Padmapad. So Padmapad, he said, "Hey, see, you are asking, he's here. I got him." So Padmapad is not able to see anything. He's only seeing a rope hanging in the air, and he's saying, who's there?" And apparently Narsimadev spoke at that time, saying that this person had that simplicity, the faith, the conviction, and the biggest thing is he wanted to help or serve this Vaishnava. That is why I manifested. This is the clue. This is one of the things. When we don't know who we are, what we are. We have got all those materialistic desires. We want to fulfill them lifetime after lifetime. We've got bad association. We've got bad birth. We've got bad occupation. If those desires need to be purified somewhere or other, I have to have developed this desire. Let me serve this devotee. Let me somehow in Kaya, Mano, Vakya, I should satisfy this devotee who's trying to serve the mission of the Lord. That's where everything happens. That's where the change happens. That is why Prahlad Maharaj, even though he saw personally the Lord in front of him, he's praying that I will not give up the association of devotees. I want to be in the association of devotees. We know this prayer that I keep telling from Bhagavatam, which what is his name? Our Parikshit Maharaj prays just before his, when all the devotees have assembled in the banks of Ganges. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante. Rati prasangascha tadashrayeshu. Mahatsu yamyam upayami shrishti maitri astu sarvatra namo dvijebhya. Very beautiful prayer. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante. Rati. My attraction, my rati should be only for that Ananta Bhagavan. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante rati. Prasangascha tadashrayeshu. And be an association of devotees. The mysterious power of transformation of heart, which is a very difficult thing, which we don't realize, because there is a endeavor which is required to overcome this anarthas. Anartha nivriti, if it has to happen, and artha prabriti has to happen, means if the good qualities has to manifest, it is only possible in association of devotees. That's why they are praying. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati anante rati. We have rati for everything else, but attraction for Krishna won't come. And attraction for Krishna won't come if we are not there in prasangasya tadashrayeshu. If we are not there in association of devotee. Mahatsu yamyam upayami shrishti maitri astu sarvatra namo dvijebhya. And then I should have maitri for every living entity in this material world. These are the three prayers that he says. In the lecture, Prabhupada talks about one thing which we will talk and close, a very interesting thing which Prabhupada brings very nicely. The word khala means jealous. This material world is a world of jealousy and envy. I am envious of you and you are envious of me. See, this is an acharya who knows. He's coming from Vaikuntha. He sees and he knows exactly what is going on in our heart. That's why the word used is khala. So the material world is world of jealousy and envy. I'm envious of you and you are envious of me. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is meant for one who is no longer jealous or envious. By becoming free from jealousy and envy, one becomes a perfect person. Dharma projita kaitavo atro paramo nirmat saranam satam. That satam is free from jealous and enviousness. Those who are jealous and envious are within this material world, and those who are not in the spiritual world. Therefore, we can test ourselves. This is a test. Whether in the heart, if I see somebody, I get that the sense of jealousy, envious. I see some how this thing, whatever the position or something, or he is doing so nicely. Why that kind of a feeling comes? That means we are in the material world. If we are jealous or envious of our friends or other associates, we are in the material world. And if we are not jealous, we are in the spiritual world. There need be no doubt of whether we are spiritually advanced or not. This is a test. We can test ourselves. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Bhakti pareshanum bhava viraktir anyatra cha. How many of you know this verse? Bhakti pareshanum bhava viraktir anyatra cha. It's a very nice verse. Actually, 11 to 42, you can see there are three things which Prabhupada talks about that. Not Prabhupada, the verse talks about in Bhagavatam. Bhakti pareshanum bhava viraktir anyatra cha. This is the verse called the number 3. There are three things which happens when somebody takes the shelter of a pure devotee. Bhakti pareshanu bhava viraktir anyatra cha. And then Prabhupada says, tushti, pushti and kshuddh, like the hunger, get satisfied. So when you eat the food, first thing what happens is tushti. You feel you feel full. There is a taste that goes, and you feel full. Your stomach is getting full. Then nourishment happens. Tushti, pushti, and kshuddh, and the hunger also goes away. You don't need a certificate from someone else, but these three things happen when we eat food. Similarly, when somebody takes the shelter of a pure devotee, three things should happen. Bhakti, we should engage in devotional service. Para isha anubhava, we should have direct perception of the Lord. And virakti, detachment from the material world. Bhakti pareshanubhava viraktir anyatra cha. Very nice analogy and the nice example. Bhakti, devotional service to the Lord. Para isha anubhava, direct perception of the Lord. And virakti, detachment. When we eat, we can understand ourselves whether our hunger is satisfied. We don't have to take a certificate from others. Similarly, we can test for ourselves whether we are in the material world or the spiritual world. If we are jealous or envious, we are in the material world. And if we are not, we are in the spiritual world. So, in conclusion, from the life of Kunti Maharani, we should see how despite so many calamities and so many opulences, she was a princess. She never forgot her identity and never forgot her sense of duty. One of the most important thing in life is, there are people who count how many problems they had. They keep complaining, they keep writing, they keep talking, keep remembering those things. What it does is, it brings us to a position where we feel, because of the Lord, I've been put into a situation like this. Somehow or other it will come finally. How the Lord can do this to me. And then in the heart, the bhakti and all those things will go away. Actually, our starting point should be how Krishna is so merciful. If that is the starting point, then you will see, like you are seeing in the case of Kunti Maharani, Punascha Bhuyat Bhagavati Anante what is this? Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki. He's starting from there. How merciful Krishna is that she is protecting me, and she is comparing her, despite the fact that she has gone through so many calamities. And in the next verse we will see she's asking more and more vipada should come. This is the position of a devotee, where she is seeing the hands of Krishna and seeing how merciful Krishna is despite going through all the difficulties. But for people like us who go through this material ups and downs, tribulations, we count how many sufferings we are having, and we make our heart go further away from Krishna. So these are some of the points from this verse. Very interesting thing actually, as Prabhupada brings, and if we read very sincerely and ask for the mercy of Prabhupada and Krishna, then we can understand that this is meant for my own purification. This is not meant just for some academic this thing that I am reading, or some story I will hear from here and there and something, and then I'll remember or I'll forget. This is meant to bring the transformation. Bhakti is supposed to bring that behavioral change inside us. If we follow the principles properly, which is a painful thing, then it'll bring that transformation as it is shown in this case of Kunti Maharani. I'll conclude with one story which I heard from one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada by name Giriraj Swami, who has written that book called I Will Build You a Temple. So he says, very interesting, actually Prabhupada, some of the things that he has done is demonstrated. There are countless examples of those, but there's one, this Giriraj Maharaj, he was, I think in one of the Prabhupada memories, he shares this. So we all know that he was the president of Mumbai temple, where he wanted to, that Juhu fight was going on. So Mr. Nair, who was taking all kinds of tricks to usurp the property and was not keen in giving it to Prabhupada to build this beautiful temple for Radha Ras Bihari. What happened one day, this is Giriraj Swami telling himself. He took him to in a car, Mr. Nair, and so there was a plan that Nair had, and the car was having a chauffeur. So he asked Giriraj Swami to enter. So from the car rear end, from this door, Giriraj Swami entered and he sat. So he was expecting Nair would come and sit here, but instead of Nair, he had planned. There was a prostitute who was there. He came and sat in the middle of Nair and Giriraj Swami. And then she started touching the feet of Giriraj Swami. And then she started going up on the knees and the legs. And at that time, Giriraj Swami was very young. I mean, he is a young American. He has just gone. He was not a sannyasi at that time. He was a brahmachari. So he was sitting, and then this thing is going on. He didn't realize that. And he was thinking for a moment. I was thinking, okay, maybe some beautiful lady is sitting next to me. What's wrong? Let me enjoy. But the very next moment, he got this thought, what Prabhupada will think of me if I do this? And that thought was so powerful that he said, just get rid of this place. Go away from this place. Ask the car to stop. And ask that lady to get down. And he concludes, he says this pastime, that day I realized if we are attached to Prabhupada, okay, maybe we have not got the attachment to Krishna, but Prabhupada who is attached to Krishna, if we get an attachment to Prabhupada, we can get rid of all this material, anarthas. So this is something which we can see from this verse, and we will continue to see. Now Kunti Maharani will pray, will talk about her further problems, actual problems which she has gone through. But she has never complained, why Krishna you put me in this kind of a situation? She is always thinking how I can be engaged in devotional service. This should be the mood. Instead of asking that why, I should see how I can engage in devotional service. Any question? Any comments?
Kunti Maharani says how we women can understand you, right? So, but she's devotee, and isn't that like being in the bodily concept of like why is she identifying herself even as a woman?
I think we discussed. Actually, it's her humility. She is the most realized, advanced devotee who understands the actual position of Krishna more than anybody else. But she is taking that humble position, and that's what one of the sign of genuinely advanced devotee. He or she considers himself, whatever the bodily concept of life, he or she considers himself to be the most fallen or the most unqualified to understand the Lord. Katham Pashyema, his Striya, she's seeing the disqualification in herself to understand Krishna is actually her biggest qualification. Because Krishna is Tvam Akinchana Gochara. Is not purchased by any of our this thing, by what service or what this thing we are doing, nothing actually. Tvam Akinchana Gochara. He is purchased if we are free from that pride, free from that that sense of proprietorship, that sense of this thing that I have done it. When we are free from that, that biggest disqualification becomes our qualification. That's what she is demonstrating. Otherwise, that stri keeps coming in various places, and Prabhupada talks about that. We saw in the previous verse also Prabhupada is talking about that. But that is for people like us who are actually in the bodily concept of life. Somebody thinks, okay, women are not this thing. Actually, we are all Sudras. And this is the biggest misunderstanding that people have. Somebody is more qualified, somebody is less qualified, nothing. We are all trapped in the material concepts of life. Whether we are man, woman, doesn't matter. We are all born as Sudras. So it's only by the mercy of pure devotee that we are getting a chance to engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam, it's not possible. But if somebody engages in proper devotional service, even if in this material world, even if he's in woman body, man body, whatever, boy body, child body, he will be Jivan Mukta. That is Rupa Goswami's declaration. Iha yasya harer dase karmana manasa gira nikhilasu api avasthasu Jivan Mukta sauchyate. Iha yasya harer dase. If somebody is engaging in devotional service of Hari, karmana manasa gira, by activities, manasa by mind, and gira by words. Karmana manasa gira nikhilasu api avasthasu, in all circumstances, in all situations, Jivan Mukta sauchyate. He is considered to be Jivan Mukta. Not just after death, quitting the body, one will get liberation. In this very life itself, one will get liberation. One is liberated. Jivan Mukta. Any other questions? No questions. We'll continue to see this wonderful Kunti Maharani's prayers and reflect on this. Srila Prabhupada ki, Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.